Hey everybody,
Hey guys.
it's Ashley and Matt here, and today we wanted to revisit a topic that we had briefly touched on in the past, and today's topic is how to get your bioptic driver's license.
We're going to dive a little deeper into the process of obtaining that license and kind of our experience of doing so.
So here we go.
So as a disclaimer, we can only speak to 1 hour experience and 2 hour experiences as they pertain to our respective states. So I am born and raised in Georgia. Matt was born and raised in California, and he got his license in California, but then he had to repeat the process in Georgia, unfortunately.
So we'll talk about that whole little debacle a little bit later as well.
Right, so we have 2 perspectives, but we can only speak to those states. Each state has different requirements, different acuity restrictions. So what you really have to do is go onto your local DMV's website or DDS or whatever they're calling themselves now and see what your respective acuity requirement is. And if you meet that acuity requirement, how to go about getting this license. But for more or less, it's similar across the states that allow it.
So the first thing you're going to want to do is find out if your state even allows bioptic driving, because unfortunately, not all states in the country do allow bioptic driver's licenses.
And we also aren't really sure how this pertains to countries outside of the U.S. We just don't have a lot of experience talking to other individuals that have obtained a bioptic driver's license outside of the U.S., but I'm sure it's possible.
And if you are somebody who lives outside of the US and you do have your bioptic driver's license or maybe some other sort of driver's license, I'm sure everybody would love to read about that in the comments below, so definitely post that below. So first we're going to start with the breakdown of the process of getting your license in Georgia.
So first what you have to do is go and see what are those people called?
Doctor.
Okay. Doctor. You have to go see a low vision specialist, and that person will check your acuity, and if your acuity lines up with the requirement for your respective state, then they will measure you for a bioptic lens.
Just a quick interjection. A low vision specialist is typically an ophthalmologist who subsequently specializes in low vision.
Wow, what a title.
So the best way you might ask to get a hold of said low vision specialist is to actually contact your regular eye doctor. Typically they're going to have a bunch of people on file that they can refer you to, and you can call them up and see which low vision specialist is closest to you.
So if you qualify, you will receive and be measured for one of these.
Beautiful, sparkly,
So pretty.
amazing.
But really, it's what's inside.
Yeah.
It's what's inside that counts. But what's on the outside doesn't hurt. Like a pretty face.
Okay, now you're just pandering.
So, this is what we're talking about.
Those are some nice eyewear thingies.
I mean, who could resist this styling?
When they see me in the club wearing my bioptics, they'd be like, ooh, I can't even, I don't know.
Whoops.
I'm not a lyricist.
So you go through this bioptic training, which is just to be sure that you know how to use glasses with a telescope on it, basically. And since we've had a monocular through school and through just life, I at least didn't have any trouble with the training.
I didn't have any trouble either. It was
I'm not
basically
saying-
second nature.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying that, like, I was seeing if you agree.
Oh, I agree.
You concur.
I concur.
He concurs. So it really wasn't complicated. It's really just someone that walks around the city with you and they say,
Somebody, any old person,
just anyone. They say, what's that over there? And then
a trained someone.
you, a very qualified individual. So they point at something, they ask what color it is, or they ask you to read it, or what is that sign for. Anyway, it's pretty basic, pretty self-explanatory, just tedious, time-consuming, but otherwise not hard or complex. It's fine.
I need water.
I'm parched.
Want some water? Sponsored by water.
Water. H2O.
The word of the day is water.
So once you've gotten the official check off of your bioptic training, then you get to enroll in everyone's favorite thing when seeking a driver's license, whether you are a bioptic user or not. It is
Driving school! Ooh, 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 ooh. Driving school is so much fun. I did it twice.
He did it twice. Who doesn't love driving school?
It's a blast.
Everyone doesn't like driving school.
Nothing like being almost in your mid-20s at the time and sitting around in a classroom full of 14, 15, and 16-year-olds. No offense, 14, 15, and 16-year-olds.
Y'all are great people.
But I kind of already grew out of that whole classroom environment with everybody in that age group, so.
It's all good, but that's a story for another time.
So anyways.
So you get to enroll in driving school, and whether you have a bioptic lens or not, you get to go to this fun class, and you learn all of the road rules, you learn all of the road signs, you learn all of that, and then you get to take your behind the wheel or in-car instruction sort of component. What is that called?
Behind the wheel driving component instruction.
That's what I thought. So you get to be in the car with an instructor, and once again, everyone has to do this, visually impaired or not, but for us, you have to fulfill an additional checklist. So it's like driving at night, highway driving, I forget the other ones. Those are the two most common restrictions. Matt and I both don't have either of those restrictions, but some people are just more comfortable. You know, they're like, I don't want the highway anyway, or they're not comfortable driving at night, and that's totally fine. But that's just one additional hurdle that we have to jump over. But once again, it just takes a little bit of extra time, but otherwise it's not hard, not complicated.
So the story that I was alluding to earlier involving me getting my license in Georgia was that even though I had had my license for years in California and I was driving and I was good at it now and all that other stuff, somehow moving across state lines, I must have knocked some sense out of me because they felt the need for me to retake driving school. That means all the road signs, learning the way of the road, all the little things that you do when you're like 15 and a half. I had to redo all that stuff, and it was a little miserable.
But he passed and all is well, so bravo to you.
Yay,
but
mediocrity.
All of that had to happen because some states in the U.S. have reciprocity with the bioptic driving laws, and unfortunately California and Georgia did not have that reciprocity.
Not on speaking terms.
No, we're not talking. But we're thankful that both states do have bioptic driving at all, so although it's frustrating, it is what it is.
It's a win-lose situation.
Win-lose-win situation. But the very last step in this whole ordeal is to go to the DMV or the DDS, or once again, I don't remember what they refer to themselves as, but anyway, your motor vehicle establishment, and you apply for your driver's license. You've already done all of the behind-the-scenes work, everything is in place, and you basically have to go take your driving test with the DMV instructor person to say, okay, they're
behind the wheel one.
Yes, they're able to do this, and then you take your pretty picture, hopefully anyways, because that follows you for a few years, and you're good to go.
A step that we skipped was if you are in the 14, 15, and 16 year range, obviously you have to get your permit first. And so it's pretty much the same stuff, except in addition to everything that we said before you take the whole behind the wheel and everything like that, you actually have to take a written permit test and stuff like that.
Neither of us applied for our license at the same time that most people do. So we weren't in that 15 to 16 range. We were more like 18 to 20. And so that's why we got to skip that step. Like Matt said, if you are part of that age group, then you would go through that step as well.
Let's dance. Okay.
So the last little tidbit that we have to share as it pertains to Georgia, a wee little bit, is the renewal rate. So for Georgia, you have to renew it every 2 years. not bad. You just have to go back to your eye doctor. They have to check your acuity, and as long as everything is in check, then you just go to the DMV, you renew, not a big deal.
That is a good point. Every time you renew, you have to have a current
Eye
exam on file, at least one every year.
Yes, just to be sure that your acuity is staying the same. And honestly, if I were not visually impaired and I knew that people with vision like ours were able to drive, I would like to have the peace of mind too, knowing that they have to jump through a few extra hoops.
For the whole process, not just
Yes,
the renewal.
absolutely.
But I mean, I totally get it. I mean, you don't want a bunch of blind people driving all over the road. And so
It would be unfortunate. So it makes sense, just can be a little frustrating, but once again, makes sense, and we should be thankful at all that we're able to do it.
So you guys, that wraps up our video on how to get your bioptic license. I know it was kind of dry material, a little bit boring, but hopefully you guys found it informative. I know we've been getting a lot of questions about how to go about getting your bioptic license, and even though the information varies very widely from state to state, this should serve as a general guideline that should hold true in most circumstances. But once again, check with your local state agency.
So we hope y'all enjoyed this. We have several other driving videos in the works, so if you enjoyed this at all, be sure to like and subscribe so that you are notified whenever we put those out.
And also, don't forget to comment down below if you want to share your experiences on getting your license, or maybe you're in the midst of the process right now, or maybe you just want to get your license and you haven't even started the process, but that's something you're looking forward to. Go ahead and comment down below, and we would love to hear from you guys, as well as sending us any questions that you may have about getting your license.
And if you are in the midst of that process, best of luck, and we look forward to seeing y'all next time.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.